Okay, Zach, good to see you.
Nice to see you, Peter.
You
So
got a question?
for me as a kid, I've always been spiritually inclined, and as a kid, we didn't really know what was going on. I was pretty much came in and I was open. My chakras were open, and as a kid, I'd be able to feel spirit, see spirit, um, but my parents didn't know what was going on for me, right? So nobody knew what was going on, so I didn't really have anyone. And so my parents, I'd kind of be like, hey mom, like, do you not see this lady, or is this lady not talking to you, or and she's like, no, like, I don't see what you're seeing. We actually lived on kind of like a native land, and I could hear the drums beating, and then doing their rituals, and I'd say, mom, like, there's people in the house, like, you not hear the drums and everything. And
Mm.
she'd be like, no, like, what are you talking about? So I shut it off and kind of pushed it away for many years, and I was kind of scared of it. It was something that was
Hmm.
overwhelming as at a young age. But now I want to tap into it and use my gift to help myself and to help others.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah,
Hmm.
you see, I had similar problems when I was a kid. I would see people's karmic, I would see people's past lives and their karma.
Hmm.
And I would tell my mother, why are you spending time with that person? Don't you see what they did, or don't you see who they are?
Yeah.
And she would get upset with me. So after a while, I stopped being able to do that. I turned it off.
Yeah, no, I've always kind of been able to, look at someone and, kind of tell if they are a good soul, and, they
Mhm.
have a pure good heart.
What you're talking about is being a shaman, really.
Okay.
Now, there's a lot of people come to Mount Shasta and use that term just because they want to be somebody special. But
Okay.
there's a difference between just using a title and actually doing it. You know what I mean? I could call myself a doctor, but if I haven't gone to medical school, that's really false advertising. So the shamans were really people in Siberia. I think that's a Siberian word, like from Russia. These were people, of course, there were people in Tibet, in all, Native American culture also. You call them a medicine man, something like that. They could see into other worlds and use that ability to help people, not
See,
only to help people in the physical world, but to help those people in the spirit world, and
mhm.
also to invoke higher beings, what I would call the ascended masters, the
Right.
angels, the archangels, um, these great helpers that are here to help us. So you kind of have that ability to see into these other, I don't even like the word dimensions, other frequencies. Yeah, you can see things that other people can't. You can see the etheric causes of things or astral causes, depending on what frequency they'd use, like lower astral, higher astral, etheric, so on. There are all kinds of beings on the earth, only some of them in physical bodies, but still we're all interrelating with each other or trying to. But if you have that ability, you can do certain things to strengthen yourself to be of service. And
Yeah.
it's important not to try to invoke things before you're ready, because you have to make sure you're protected as well. And
Right.
that's where meditation comes in, to strengthen your light. So
Hmm.
that's why it's very important to just, to do that light meditation Saint Germain gives in Unveiled Mysteries. And I explain it in a number of my videos, where you just feel like there's a sun in the center of your chest, and you expand that out. Nothing is really solid or physical. Everything is energy vibrating at a certain frequency. So if the table is vibrating at a similar frequency to you, it appears to be solid. But, I've seen beings walk through walls, physical beings, because they could raise their frequency.
Wow.
So you really, before you get too far into working with these other beings, really develop your own light field, and create the protective aura around yourself,
So what are some practices or meditations that I
Well,
can?
this one I was just giving, where you see the light and you say, I am the sun, feel I am, I don't know if you're familiar with the I am presence. You've seen it. It's that ball of light above you.
Yep.
Sometimes infants will see that, and then later they call it their guardian angel, something like that. The ball of light with rainbow colors around it, that's the real you. And then it creates other bodies at different frequencies, like what they call the higher mental body or the etheric body, and so on. You're out doing work in your etheric body when you're asleep,
So it's your subconscious that's kind of venturing off.
It's not actually subconscious, it might be superconscious, I don't know. It's more conscious than being in the physical body.
Right.
See, even during the day, your other bodies and other vibratory rates are doing work. You're leading a different life in other worlds,
Right.
But you did decide to be here in this body, in this kind of 3D dense world. And so you're going to be able to be of service, help people, do healing work, or to free people from these forces that are bothering them that, they're not aware of the cause of, So meditating on that light and strengthening it is very important. And also, there's something called Vipassana meditation. I mean, you can use many things to still the mind. You can use a mantra or just observing the breath. That's the simplest, the in-breath and the out-breath. You feel the rise and fall of your chest. And then as you're doing that, you're aware of thoughts that come up, and you just label them thoughts, and then let them go and come back to the breath. So that way you develop the ability to focus your mind, not be distracted by things.
Okay.
So then you know where guidance is coming from. It's coming from the center of your being, or is that some departed spirit that's hanging out, that's whispering things to you? Is it the voice of your parents, or somebody's thinking about you, somebody's thinking about phoning you, and you're picking up their thoughts before they even phone you, so the more you still your mind and focus on the core of your being, the more you will know where these voices are coming from. So you want to be able to tune in to your true self, the I am presence, It doesn't always speak in words. Sometimes it just gives you an intuition, sometimes just a feeling. Like sometimes I think in the beginning of the day, I start the day off, I'm lying in bed. Dear God, I know you're up there. Beloved, I am presence. I know you're there. It would be nice to see you and have a conversation with you, but if you're too busy or it's not in my best interest, just create the perfection of this day and guide me to follow the divine plan. There is a divine plan for every day. For your whole life, there is a plan, And if you can get the ideas out of the way that are pulling you this way and that way, then it's just a flow and everything kind of falls into place. That doesn't mean you won't have challenges or difficulties, but to recognize that it's part of your education somehow, like these challenges are part of your education as a, in mastery. But the more you can learn to center, then you see all these things like a movie, that you're an actor in a movie. It's all being directed from a higher level. And you say, show me how to play my part at this point. Yeah, so you can just kind of act spontaneously, you'll know what to do. And once you learn to follow that guidance, then everything sort of flows, But it's important to get in touch with your own divine energy and learn to call that forth. So you can heal people at a distance even. See, like our higher bodies are meeting somewhere in the etheric realm right now, because I can feel your energy.
I can feel yours too.
You're not just
you're very you're very powerful. I can feel your energy. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can send that. I just imagine there's a sun in your heart that's sending a beam of light to my heart. And you say, I am the Son of God, S-U-N, sending a beam of light to Peter's heart. And I am the Son of God, sending a ray of light to your heart. I am blessing you, guiding you, directing you, healing you, seeing to it you get whatever you need. It's very simple, really.
It is simple, and it's yet so, like, I can just feel that so well, and
yeah. But to
so
actually
powerful.
do it, see, the mind wants something complicated. The mind wants to stay in control,
Yeah.
So it tells you need to do this, you need to do that, all these things. But really, once you can discipline the mind, mind is like a little puppy. It wants to go this way and that way, and you have to train it to stay by your side and walk next to you and not to pull on the leash and stuff like that.
Right, and that is something I struggle with, is having my human consciousness, and then sometimes it does get in the way, so I do have to really slow it down, and sometimes to get into that meditation, I really have to, the rise and fall of my chest, and really just say, okay, I gotta let all my human thoughts just flow out.
It'd be good if you could set up some kind of a discipline, like say at least every morning and evening, to take 20 minutes to, sometimes like I have a mala, a string of beads, has 108 beads, and I'll do the Vajra Guru mantra. It only takes about 5 minutes or 4 minutes, something like that. You do that twice a day, and it's just a focusing process, like when you start the day, to bring your attention into the here and now. I have a video on it that you can look up, but the mantra was given by Padmasambhava 1,200 years ago, specifically for the time that we're in now. Om Ah Hung, Vajra Guru Padma Siddhi Hung. So Om is this center, Ah is the voice center, Hung is the heart chakra. It activates those centers. And then Vajra Guru is the indestructible Guru, which is really one with your I am presence. And Padma is the lotus blossom, that's the Divine Mother. So you imagine that you're sitting in a beautiful pink lotus blossom, and that is the Shakti of the Divine Mother protecting you and energizing you and nourishing you. And then it ends with Hung, and then that brings it down. You can also bring it down into the solar plexus, so it's energizing your body and all your chakras to be right focused in the here and now, in the Buddha mind, empty mind. So, and, being one with the universal guru. Now, to some people, that's the Tibetans, that's Padmasambhava, but it could be Jesus, or just your own higher self is the Vajra Guru. It's the indestructible Guru that's always with you. Now, some people have a hard time contacting it, so they go to somebody on the physical plane, but they may or may not be giving them valid information, you know. So I recommend not going to psychics and people like that, because you don't know where that information is coming from. It could be from a disembodied spirit. It could be from a, you know, some negative astral entity, or just from your own mind of the person channeling, you know. And to become a master, you have to learn to get it from within yourself, not depend on somebody outside, you know.
Okay, so I guess I have a question then, and that would be, so when exactly and how would I want to use my spirit guides or my guardian angels?
Well, that's good. I mean, they are there for us, but what ultimately we need to learn to get it from our own I am presence, you know.
Okay.
So that's like what Saint Germain has given me a lot of personal guidance, but I learned not to ask him to do everything for me. You know, it's kind of like asking your parents to do everything. They raise you to a certain point, so you learn to take care of yourself, you know. So I think that's why Saint Germain gave me Violet Tara, which is an aspect of your own consciousness. So not to ask him every time I need violet light to purify something, not to call on him, but to invoke the Violet Tara aspect of my higher self, which is God, actually. So any teacher or any master that's authentic will try to get you to call it forth from your own God self. But you will know at some point. For example, like, let's say you go into a big city and you feel a lot of negative energy. It's good to call on the masters to help you, not just say, I'm going to clean up the atmosphere of this city by myself. Like my teacher, Pearl, tried to do that in San Francisco. She said, oh, I'm going to go forth tonight and dissolve the astral world over San Francisco. So she left her body and got up there, and she saw these monsters, like these demons that were huge, you know. They started to chase her. And the masters, fortunately, were keeping an eye on her. And they said, don't ever try to do something like this on your own. Always ask us for assistance, you know.
Okay.
But I mean, I send light to the whole world, to the world governments and things like that. And then I ask the masters to amplify that, you know. Please amplify my prayer. But it's just, I try during the day with all the little small things I'm doing, not to call on the masters to do everything for me. So you'll know when to call on them and when not. Like, definitely if you feel under attack or something, don't hesitate, you know, call on Archangel Michael, somebody like that.
Yeah, for me, it's just, I want to, really find everything that I can do and really develop, my gift and my abilities, and really tap in and then use them so that I can then, serve humanity. It's like, for me, it's just, I don't know where to start, or the exact meditations to use, or
Well, you have to start. Nobody's born, you know, knowing all these things, you know. I mean, you're probably ahead of where I was at your age, you know. So, you know, I started out pretty much doing hatha yoga, and then, you know, learned to bring energy into my body through doing the yoga asanas, you know. And that's good. You know, it's good to work with the body, bringing the spirit in and through the body, and then doing things like qigong, you know. So it's not just out of the body stuff, it's really bringing it in. You know, I studied with a Chinese teacher, and he met people in caves in China that were 200-300 years old that could precipitate objects out of the air. And I met beings in the Himalayas that could create, you know, if you were hungry, they would just precipitate whatever food you wanted. They
Wow.
didn't need to, they didn't need to eat, you know.
And you saw that firsthand.
Yeah, I lived with this one yogi who was he was a student of Babaji, you know, the Kriya Yoga Babaji, you know.
Wow.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is, you know, you think, oh man, somebody that can do that, this is my guru, but they didn't talk most or talk very little, you know, because, you know, I mean, I wanted to stay there and just, you know, burn my passport and just live in a cave and become a yogi. And then one day Babaji came to me and he said, you'll help more people being in the West on Zoom, you know, than if you lived in a cave in the Himalayas, you know. That's not your work. He did that. That was his work, you know. You know, in Buddhism, they talk about the three jewels. That's the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So the Buddha is the actual consciousness, and the Dharma is the spiritual teachings, and the Sangha is the group of fellow practitioners. And so the Sangha is, you know, you're not only your brothers and sisters who are on the path, but the teachers and the Ascended Masters, all those beings that are working for the Dharma, you know. And that's an important aspect, because just by yourself, you can kind of get strung out, or you can get off into dangerous territory, you know. And that's why I think, like a church, even if they don't have the ultimate spiritual teachings, it's good just, you know, to learn to get along with other people on the path and hear what other people are into, things like that, you know.
Exactly. I think for me, it was just...
Yeah, the problem with the Sangha is they tend to develop a kind of rigidity after a while. You know, from Jesus and the disciples having certain teachings, then various groups got hold of those teachings and they've made very rigid dogmatic teachings out of them, which he didn't intend, you know. Like saying that, you know, you're born a sinner and, you know, things like that Jesus never said, you know. He said, the kingdom of heaven is within you. He didn't say you have to, you know, get baptized and take communion and, you know, go to church or anything like that, you know. So, you know, it is good to be part of a group, but also to be aware that these groups tend to have certain dogmas that you can look at, but you probably need to transcend a lot of it after a while, you know. And I found Tibetan Buddhism to be very helpful. But again, they have their dogmas where I think the original teachings got distorted, you know. So you have to go beyond that, you know. This person asked the Buddha, how long do I need to practice the Buddha Dharma? And he said, it was just like the river we crossed. You use the boat to get to the other side, but when you get to the other side, you don't carry the boat with you. So when the practice had served you, the Dharma practice has served you, then after a while you transcend it. You're just in the Buddha mind, and you don't need to keep doing those practices, you know. But there's some very simple practices that I find very helpful. One of them is, you know, to take a mala. These are these little Rudraksha beads. And with each, there are 108. With each one, go Om Ah Hung Raja Guru Padma Siddhi Hung. Om Ah Hung Raja Guru Padma Siddhi Hung. Om Ah Hung Raja Guru Padma Siddhi Hung. Just observing, and that keeps the mind centered. And then suddenly you may get, boom, you get, you know, inspiration like that, you know. but you don't do it specifically for a purpose. You just focus completely on the beads and on the sound, and it disciplines the mind, and that carries over into every aspect of your life,
So when you're chanting that mantra, what exactly are you doing then?
Well, you're not trying to think about, you're just thinking about the sound, not even translating it, or just, you're actually kind of feeling, the Buddhists might not like the way I say it, but you're sort of, I am the presence of God, or I am the Buddha, I am one with the Buddha, I am the Buddha mind, or I am one with Guru Rinpoche, that's Padmasambhava. You feel it's not you doing the mantra, it's Padmasambhava doing the mantra, That is very advanced practice. That's called Vajrayana, or Tantric Buddhism, where you merge with the guru or the deity. So, ideally you would merge with your I am presence, but you could merge with Saint Germain, see him in front of you, and eventually you become one with him. In that case, you would be saying, I am one with Saint Germain, I am one with Saint Germain, I am one with Saint Germain, something like that. There may be different times when you want to invoke different energy. Like at some point I wanted to develop more of the Divine Mother quality. So for about 3 years, I meditated on white Tara. I got a tanka, which is like, this is a tanka, it's a cloth hanging. I got one of white Tara who was on the wall opposite my bed. And so every morning I would see her when I woke up. And I had a different mala. I had a mala of white pearls. And I would do the Tara mantra. Then I would do it again before I went to bed. And it really changed me. People could feel the difference. So you ask, what quality do I need to invoke? It could be like, where is it? Oh, Moria. Maybe some of that energy. That's the first ray, That's power, the first ray. Boom. We're going to get things going here. You ask what it is you need. You think, So there are times when I focus, I am the presence of El Moria. Wow. Then I get an energy from that. But then after a while, I say, I need a little bit more of the love aspect. So yes, I am the presence of Kutumi, who's more love and wisdom. Or then I might say, I am the presence of Jesus the Christ, or I am the presence of Mother Mary. That's beautiful. I just feel her flowing through me. At different times, you'll feel different ones are appropriate for you, They all develop different aspects of yourself. But I don't know, are there any Buddhist groups around? I'm not saying necessarily you need it, but there are actually some groups that are online now, except a lot of them tend to be very rigid. Like I don't believe Westerners should chant in Tibetan. It's Sanskrit is different. Sanskrit is a primordial language that comes from the source, really. But basically, if you're going to pray, it should be in a language that you understand. Just mumbling in Tibetan doesn't do anything for me. It is nice to be part of a group and everyone's doing the same ritual. There's a feeling of oneness. But it's really, the lamas were told, they take a vow when they became lamas to teach in the language of the country where they were residing. So in a sense, they're not following through on their agreement to teach. They may give actual teaching in English, but the rituals should be in English also. But, I think to be part of a spiritual group where just people want to serve and want to improve themselves is a good thing, you know, and to know there are people there that can help you if you're having a hard time, something like that, because it doesn't matter what the religion or the practice, everyone goes through ups and downs in their life, you know, and to have people there who are there for you is a nice feeling. But I would do some things physical, like learning Qigong, where you bring, you know, the Qi into the body. Qigong just means energy practice. You know, and I'll spend maybe, I don't do it a lot, but at least 20 minutes a day. And I feel more energized after doing that. So it's not just, you know, the spirit work is out there or leave the body and go out and do it. It's like becoming the master right here now in the physical body. Even when you go for a walk, you know, just feel this is God walking. And when you walk through the forest, these are not just trees, these are my friends, these are spiritual beings. That makes sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah. So have you read my book, Apprentice to the Masters? Anyway, you can download it from my website.
Okay.
That talks about how I met Saint Germain and all the like practice, the tests and the trials and the lessons that he gave me on my path. I think Amazon sends books to Canada, so if you wanted, you could get the paperback. You know. But it's a very unique book, and it shows the training for mastery, you know. You know, and just realize God hears your every thought, but God knows in what way to respond. But you can say, dear God, I need a lesson now, or I need instruction, show me the next step. And you know, maybe somebody will put a book in your hand, or you'll see a video on YouTube or something, and then you realize, oh, thank you, God, that was in response to my prayer, you know. I mean, last week I was house sitting for a friend, and in his backyard he had these beautiful, beautiful pine trees, you know, 100 feet tall. And I was very grateful to be there. So I wanted to bless Mother Nature. So I walked around in his yard in a circle with my hands out. And I don't remember exactly what I was saying. I am the presence of God blessing Mother Earth. Or I think I said, I am the presence of Divine Mother blessing the earth, something like that. And I had my hands out. I walked 3 times around this big garden. And the next morning, I looked out the kitchen window, 6 o'clock in the morning. There was this beautiful round rock, like a river rock, completely smooth. And there are no rocks like that around in the yard. You know, it's from a river bed, you could see, you know, and it had a face on one side, not painted. It was there were eyes in the rock, you know, and then a little mouth. And I thought maybe some kid threw that over here, but there were no kids in the neighborhood. And then I thought, could a bird have dropped it? But it was way too heavy. And then I finally realized, you know, this was the sign, this was a gift in gratitude from Mother Nature, you know, the nature spirit. Like, you know, these spiritual beings are very powerful. It's nothing for them to levitate, to move a rock, you know. So somehow they wanted to show me, you know, there's a part of you when you say a prayer, you wonder if it did any good sometimes, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this was showing me, yes, it did do good. And we're giving you this rock to express our thanks and to encourage you to have faith in yourself, that what you're doing is real. It's not just something happening in your mind, you know. So that was my particular lesson and gift, and that was just between me and God. I didn't have to be part of any group or ritual or anything like that. So just sitting there in your room, you can receive, tremendous lessons,
So if I wanted to kind of just sit, would you say that's more like kind of just like sitting in the power type of thing?
Yeah, sitting in the power, sitting in the presence,
So you're sitting in the presence of God.
Yeah, and feeling God coming through you, through all your chakras. And it's good if when you do that, you're in a chair. Like right now, I'm in a office chair. It's not the best for meditation because it moves, and you don't want to be slumped back, like you're on the sofa watching TV. Or you really, sit up and with your feet on either sit in like lotus position or half lotus on the floor you can use cushions with the spine straight, the tip of the tongue against the roof of the mouth. Or you could sit in a chair, but also with your feet on the ground then and your hands on your knees, or you can have your hands, sometimes I have my fingers like that. That's good mudra.
So with your fingers like that, you're just connecting your whole body.
Connecting the energy, it's like makes a circle, comes around. So, but to learn to focus your mind and to bring your awareness into the here and now. That's, really you have to become a warrior. This is warrior training. I had a teacher, Trungpa Rinpoche, Tibetan Buddhist, and people were shocked because, I said, Buddhism is supposed to be peaceful. You don't hurt anybody. Then he started saying you have to become a warrior. What he meant was slay the illusions, slay the distractions, But it's, ultimately the purpose is to develop compassion for other people. I'm not doing this just to get high or, to feel stoned or to be famous or rich or whatever it is. I'm doing this to benefit all those that are suffering. And there's plenty of suffering going around, when to know everything is a part of you, so to develop that compassion, it's a big difference when part of in Tibetan Buddhism, there's various vows you take. One is you just vow to follow the Buddha Dharma, but there's another vow where you vow to be a bodhisattva. That's someone who kind of rejects going on to higher worlds in order to stay and help people that are suffering. Or if you do go on to a higher world, you're still working on helping humanity. Those are what the Ascended Masters are. They're bodhisattvas. They could have gone on to higher worlds and just been in bliss all the time. But they chose to hang out in this kind of relative reality where they hear our prayers and they're here to help us. That's a big sacrifice. Saint Germain has been doing that for hundreds of years, back at the time of the French Revolution.
Well, I appreciate talking to you, Peter. I learned a lot and it was awesome to connect. But I thank you, Peter. It was
okay,
really
Zach.
good to connect.
Okay, take care. So,
You too, Peter.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.